Yes, thank you, Crystal Lynn, for having me on your channel yet again. You're like my favorite astrologer ever. And what's funny about this video, that's why I'm glad we got to do it together, was kind of what drew me in about you was your Saturn and Scorpio videos, how you would go so in depth about this transit. Like, I wanted to know so much about it, but no other astrologer was really talking about it. And you were just like so hyped up about it and just really making sure people were aware. I was like, I like this woman. She is awesome. So, yeah, I'm just glad to be here talking about a really heavy but beautiful transit at the same time.
Well, thank you for that. And you're right. I really did give it a lot of attention because it was impacting my life personally so much. And when we start looking into astrology and we really start getting in timing with these patterns going on and we really pay attention, I mean, it's amazing what unfolds. And I've shared publicly, I have Saturn in the Saturn and Scorpio in the 8th house. So that is not an easy house to have it in.
Oh,
And
no.
yeah, so it really shook me to the core. But boy, the transformation through the last 2 years has really been unbelievable in my personal life. So I'm excited to talk about this, farewell, last jaunt through, through the atmosphere right now that we do have Saturn and Scorpio. So how have you been feeling during this transit coming back? And I believe it was June 15th, Saturn returned to Scorpio.
Yeah, it was about mid-June there. So God, that's hard to believe. We've already been in it for like 6 weeks. Holy my. It's really weird because towards the end of Saturn and Scorpio the first time, like back in December, I think, I felt like, wow, I own this transit. I made it out alive, and I was so excited for Saturn and Sagittarius. And the first couple of degrees we got in it was cool, but the closer it got when it started retrograding and almost hit Scorpio again, I could just feel like that week, that that territory that we'd been in, for almost 2.5 years there. I knew it was coming, and even though I had a lot of finality with a lot of things in my life, just like you have, and everyone who went through this transit, but there were still some stones left unturned, to say the least. And I knew what those things were. And the week it went back into Saturn and Scorpio, it was like it was just all there as if it never went away. And I was like, you have that, I don't know, there's a lot of fear sometimes where, I mean, just Saturn in general, because it's such a hard planet, and then Scorpio being just all this crazy intensity, dealing with all this stuff nobody really wants to deal with. But I feel like this time I wasn't hiding from it. And I was just ready to, like, okay, 3 months. We did 2.5 years of this. We can do 3 more. So still kind of in the middle of all that. But yeah, I'm kind of taking it on as enthusiastically as I can.
No, that's an awesome, awesome perspective because, what a lot of people don't realize is, and we talk about it all the time, that Saturn takes 29 years to get around the sun. And so often, and those of us who were born in the 60s and late 50s are going to understand what I'm going to say probably a little bit more. But issues that are coming up today are issues that were started 29 years ago that were not dealt with. And then even those of us who are even older, people born in the 30s and the 40s, are dealing with things coming through. That's why we call Saturn and Scorpio so karmic, dating back to the previous Saturn and Scorpio, which would have been, almost 60 years ago.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so that's what makes this so fascinating. I'll share with you guys a little bit about my theory on this. And this is a personal, experience, so it doesn't get any better than that. But with Saturn and Scorpio in my 8th house, and for those of you out there, or those of you who are Virgos, with Scorpio in your 3rd house, there's a couple placements that you're really seeing these themes. And those of us who are a little older, we're dealing with karmic issues that dated back through our families, through our parents, through our siblings, through very deep places, hidden places. And, you know, for example, my parents were married during, you know, two Saturn and Scorpios ago. Okay. I didn't have the exact date in my head right now. And the issues I'm dealing with 60 years later have to do with my parents getting married 60 years ago.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah. Okay. That have been buried, that have been hidden, that have been underneath the surface. And then the issues that were happening in my immediate generation of family through sisters and siblings that happened 29 years ago are also coming to the surface, which then date back to problems that were happening when my parents got married.
Like all one big circle, you know?
It's all one big circle. And it's funny because I didn't even realize my parents had been married during a Saturn and Scorpio until my mom and I have been having these deep psychological discussions like we've never had in our life before. I'm fortunate enough to be able to talk to my mom and ask her questions about our family. And I do a lot of family tree stuff in astrology. It's fascinating. You can really date back and see, you know, these things that have come through to our generation. They are karmic issues that need to be healed. And if I, in my generation right now, do not heal it now, it'll carry through to my kids. And in the next Saturn and Scorpio, it'll be coming up for them.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
It gets
ancestral. Oh
heavy.
my gosh. It's just wild that you mentioned this, Crystal, because literally right before this Google Hangout, I was having this kind of conversation with my dad about ancestral healing and things getting carried over to the next generation when you don't face it and look at how it just goes and carries on and carries on. Then you mentioned this. So it's like, of course, this is a pattern here.
Yes. And the other interesting thing about this, and we'll talk about this too, that's so interesting to me. The issues of today, the issues we're dealing with today, every single one of them out there right now. And let's just say the world is totally in a tsunami, an emotional tsunami about so many issues. Do we not agree?
Oh, of course.
Now, if you look at the root of those issues, what do they all have a theme? They all have a death theme or a birth theme or life theme. Everybody's fighting for, you know, Cecil the Lion, you know, or very serious other issues, you know, topics like abortion and all of those subjects. They're very scorpionic. And these are issues that started 29 years ago
Oh,
that
yeah.
were not settled, were not finished. They slipped through and they're coming back up for review 29 years later with a whole new set of eyes. Or maybe not. We don't know.
Right?
Right, we're not sure what we're doing. I don't know if we still know what we're doing, but we didn't know what we were doing then. And but the universe is bringing these things up, and they're heavy, heavy, heavy issues. And this is Saturn and Scorpio retrograde issues.
Oh, yes. Oh, my.
Yeah,
Oh,
right.
God, it's like even just talking about it, like there's such a heaviness, you know, to the breath, just taking in these kind of subjects because, you know, when you immediately hear something like that, especially like when you're in the work field or just out in public, you know, when people are talking about these things with people they may not know very well, it's like there's just this sense of how do you tread water with that's just got so much depth to it because you're afraid you're going to get so sucked into something that you just don't know how to handle. And when you're, especially it being retrograde right now, I feel like there's no way that no one can't be looking at it. It's just so right there in your face and prominent. Like, where is there to hide now?
Well, and what's really interesting about it is you notice that, and this happened to me the other day. I was actually shocked, but I walked right into it. You know, most people know you know, cowgirl astrologer, and I've worked with animals my whole life, and so, you know, I'm very concerned about animals and the history and the future and their heritage and lineage and all of those things because without their vibration, we're going to lose something. We're headed into a serious period of time, being at the end of Pisces, kind of another subject, but it is the moon in Pisces, so I love to talk about it. You know, the age of Pisces is a 2,000-year period. And as we move into the age of Aquarius in approximately 2035, Pisces represents horses and elephants and any type of old soul animals, whales. And We're getting, now dealing with lions and all of these subjects. They're becoming extinct because we're at the end of the age.
Oh yes, you're
Just like the
absolutely
just like the dinosaurs were during the age of Taurus, they were extinct. So this is a very scary issue. Universally, they're headed out with the disregard for it, the not understanding it or appreciating it. We have all these inner turmoil conflicts. And what was interesting about it is I made a little post about Cecil the Lion and a few thoughts that I had, and just, respecting nature. I got all these attacks from other people caring about other compassionate issues or social issues, mad at me that I'm spending any time on this issue because there's these issues over here. And I said, I don't understand. I'm getting on a rant now. I don't understand why we can't care about multiple issues.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. There's a lot going on in the world, not just one thing. Like,
Saturn and Scorpio, everybody fighting, gets that fighting mentality. Everybody's fighting. Compassionate people are fighting against other compassionate people.
Yeah, or it's like, let's just all join in together and be compassionate as one. Like, but you're right. You're so right. There's a lot of anger that kind of comes up, and we're all fueled and passionate about it, because I do feel like anger is just derived from passion. Simply, in a lot of cases, it's a catalyst for if you want something to change badly enough, like the post you made. You want people to be aware of, hey, there's this terrible thing going on. These animals are going to be going to extinct. And I saw that post, by the way, which is beautiful, about Cecil. And it's true. If people kind of see, oh, you're investing attention in this, I want you to invest in my issues that I'm worried about over here. There's been a lot of that going on lately. People kind of really sparring. There's a lot of huge conflicts that come up with this transit, I've noticed for sure.
Well, and I think it's interesting because Saturn Scorpio really is about digging deep into the gold, to the money. And, really when it comes to causes, it's like, well, animals aren't going to make me any money, so I'm not going to value them. This issue over here potentially could be making me money in the future. So this is suddenly this most important issue. And we have all these people fighting because the bottom line for most of these situations are money.
Yes, every time. What's making the cash? Like, it's funny. Speaking of the money as well, I don't know if you've ever heard of SeaWorld before. Do they have one of these over on the West Coast?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah. I guess I used to go to them even when I was a kid, but they say that what they're doing to the whales there and how they're treating the animals for show is really not as an organic of a process as they make it sound, and it's not good for the whales. And of course now SeaWorld's coming back and saying, oh no, it's okay, we're actually saving the whales. And of course because they're going to lose money, people aren't going to come if they know the truth. And of course during Saturn and Scorpio, this is coming out. It's not hidden anymore.
Oh yeah, I mean these world issues that are coming up, and you've got, I have so many. I could get on so many topics astrologically, but you also we've had this Uranus, Pluto square the last few years. We're still feeling the ripples of that, and we have issues with government, issues with police. We have issues with society finally waking up and saying, we're not going to allow these mentalities, and everybody's being revealed. Everybody across the board. Any hidden deceit, hidden mentalities, what have you, through social media, through video cameras, the world is taking the power back. The average Joe has power now in his hands.
Exactly.
And so when we see all these things happening, and the thing about it is, you can care about, you can still respect something and feel that there's certain things that are wrong within it.
Exactly. There's those gray areas, where that's possible, and people lose sight of that, especially now, because what's so difficult is that Scorpio being a fixed sign, it really is very black and white, and it's kind of like, okay, this way or that way, but there's that gray area in that situation. But during this transit, it's hard sometimes for people to loosen up enough to see that it is there, and it's okay to have that space where you're not like contracted between one side or the other, like such extremes, you know.
Yeah, it's gonna change because here's the other thing that's happening. We've been in, you can get into studying other fixed stars and other things in the background that that go deeper layers into astrology, and we've been in a long period of Leo energy. As
Oh,
we speak, not only is Jupiter moving into Virgo, but there's so many other things, the North Node, Venus, Mars, Regulus, all of these things moving into Virgo now,
yeah.
setting off a new 12-year movement. We also have Pluto in Capricorn trining Virgo, so it's gonna wake up the Pluto and Virgo generation, which is my generation.
Woo, there you go, Crystal.
We're
Coming for
the
the
ones
return.
coming to tell everybody, the Leo
Yeah.
energy is all about the trophy.
Oh yes.
Okay. Now let's get the Virgos in here, and we're going to say we need to tend to the earth now. We need to go back to necessities. Forget the trophies. Let's
Yes.
compromise. Let's find solutions. Let's fix this.
Exactly. Break it down and get it down to a T. Simplify, you know, and get it together. So holy crap, yeah. For Virgo suns out there and ascendants and moons, I mean, all this Virgo energy is about to be conjuncting the heck out of out of us. Oh my gosh, let's
Oh
all
my
get
gosh.
prepared over here.
Yeah, I'm freaking out because I've got the Sun and Jupiter conjunct in Virgo,
Oh my.
and Uranus and Pluto all in the sixth, seventh house there. And I'm like, do I need a seatbelt? Am I going to be crazy? I'm scared because that's a lot of Mercury.
Yes, isn't it? And then because you've got a lot of Pisces as well, so then it's like, man, so it's going to be interesting, but I'm sure you'll balance it all great.
Oh yeah, I'm in a big change right now, and I'm and the other issue for people out there. I mean, we're not trying to make this like a political discussion, just a social discussion of our collective, of humanity, of what we're going through astrologically in this generation. But on a more personal level, I've really hearing certain themes playing out, and also in my own life. And with Saturn and Scorpio, we do have to be careful because people are really going black or white in their life. It's either they're going on the right path and they're doing the right things, or they're blowing everything up, including you and everyone around them. It's a time that there's a lot of anger. There's a lot of people I know right now that are just barely hanging on mentally, and mentally are not balanced because of the energies. Things are coming up. If you haven't dealt with them as a person and you're still holding in and you're not making those changes, Jupiter in Virgo is going to expand these problems.
Ain't gonna be no running from them anymore, that's for sure.
No. So I'm not trying to scare everyone, but be careful because stalking is at an all high. Catfish, dating on the internet is at a high again. Saturn Scorpio brings those deep, dark things up, and there's a lot of deceit. So you got to be, really on guard. You got to put yourself in good protective positions. That's all I can say. And I've had to do this myself. So unfortunately, I'm talking from experience, which is hard, but I've had to, Scorpio's no joke.
It's so inevitable, like, with this that is, we're all facing it on a collective level, but I feel like with this Scorpio and eighth house energy, really, it's like contracts. Like it's kind of this contract between you and another person, whether it's a friend, a family member, significant other. It's like this bond is formed, and when there's lies and trust issues that come up in it and all these breakings of the contracts, a lot of anger comes up and all this stuff. And I'm seeing everywhere, especially in family situations, like we talked about more than anything. Things that happened years and years ago in people's childhood, such as sexual abuse and or just kids that had parents that got divorced and were scarred from that, or just lies that were in the family that they didn't know about. It's just like exploding. And now that we're coming back to it in the retrograde, I feel like we're just getting that final like hit, the nail on the head there, and just kind of anything that's left from that, totally go into it. And everyone I talk to, that really seems to be the theme is these family issues. I can attest to it. I don't know if there's anything going on for you there. I'm sure there is because it's like all over the place. Woo!
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's one of those things. It's like nobody would really even believe it if I told them. So, maybe it'll get in my book, something good. It'll be a good read, but, you know, um, it's just so true. There's a lot going on right now. And those people that are aware, that's why we come on and give these discussions. And I'm sorry, by the way, my lighting is not that good. The clouds are really cool behind me though. um,
Beautiful.
so hopefully you guys can hear me. But you know, there's so much going on right now. And for those of you who, maybe are tuning in right now and are trying to figure out what we're talking about, Saturn was in Scorpio, has been in Scorpio since October of 2012 to December of 2014. It then moved into Sagittarius right around Christmas time, if you guys remember the shift. And we got this strange reprieve for about 6 months. We had some other issues astrologically. There's always some drama astrologically. But then as of June 15th, it moved back in to Scorpio. It will be there until September. And this is the time for the final, deep, dark detoxification of your life. Whether that's financial, take care of bills, take care of court cases, take care of issues, those kind of things, take care of them, deal with them. There's no better time than when Saturn and Scorpio is bringing those things up to the surface to give you the energy and focus to handle them. And as far as, so many other issues, relationships, I have this visual. It's not probably the best visual, but it just keeps coming to me. But, we talk a lot about Saturn and Scorpio being life, birth, death, regeneration. And when you think of life and you think of that baby coming out, that life, the first thing that they do is they cut the umbilical cord. And that's so the baby can sustain itself on its own. And right now, with so many relationships and people in a lot of emotional turmoil, there's a lot of people that need to finally cut the umbilical cord to toxic situations in their life.
That not the truth.
Right?
Getting real and raw tonight, Crystal. We are getting so real and raw. It's oh my gosh. It's
I'm going deep with Saturn and Scorpio. We're talking real here. I've even got the misty look here.
it's like always works out perfectly there. Like, it is true. As hard as it is, I love that you pointed that out there, is that this is the time for feeling all this stuff to go into it. Because yeah, I guess you can any time in life, but we are really being supported to do that right now. Even though it feels overwhelming, it feels intense. It's like, oh, I just want to go bash my head in the wall because I can't take it anymore. But it's really, that's just what Saturn does. It tests you time and again. And this is probably the third time that Saturn's been at like that 28th, 29th degree of Scorpio. So it's like, and as you go back and forth between those retrogrades, like each time it goes back to a certain degree, I always go back and look, okay, what was going on in my life last time it was at 28 degrees? And I'll always notice like, hot damn, this is the same thing that was going on then. How did I not see it? And then like, okay, there's some clarity, there's some resolution. Like if I did it this way before and it wasn't working, what can I do this time so that it will work, so that I'm not like here 30 years again when we come back to Saturn and Scorpio.
Well, I'm sure there'll be remnants, but I think that's really, really important to look at that this is bringing back these issues. There's something about us as humans that take time to really evolve and resolve issues. And, never before in history have we been in the position that we are now, moving into the age of Aquarius. And if you look at the age of Aquarius and you look at the energy of Aquarius, there's a scripture in the Bible that says in heaven, there won't be marriage, there won't be those kind of relationships. Like everybody will just love each other. And in a way, that's the energy of Aquarius. It's there's equality, there's respect. Let's all hold hands. It's creating new tribes of people. And the family dynamic, and I'm a deep traditional family person, so this is hard for me to say, but the family dynamics are changing, and dysfunctional situations, abuse, what have you, all of those situations within the family are breaking down. And people have been afraid to say, you know, I just can't allow that in my life anymore. But as we move into the age of Aquarius, it's drawing us to tribes that match our vibe. And cutting those umbilical cords is okay if it's necessary. And you don't have to do it with guilt. It's kind of about survival now, you guys. And it is survival of the fittest. I'm sorry to say, emotionally and spiritually, for the next next whole movement that we're moving into. You've got to be okay inside. You can't just fake it anymore. So
no, it's impossible. Like, I love, you touched on the Uranus and Pluto square going on during Saturn and Scorpio, and where Pluto was involved in that. And this transit, it's like all the old structures we used to have and how we used to maintain our life before, of being able to put on a show and a face, it doesn't work. Like, I can attest areas where I used to be able to lie and pretend like I was okay with something that I really wasn't. It's written all over my face now. I can't stuff it down. Everybody knows pretty much everything about me there is to know anymore. It's like, God, do I have any more skeletons left in my closet? I mean, sure I do. We're all human. There's probably always going to be something lurking, but I almost feel like it was especially the beginning of Saturn and Scorpio. The first year I feel like was just realizing, oh God, all this stuff is here. But then the second year I really started just getting into it, and now I feel pretty clean and refreshed, and it's just a matter of just looking it right in the eye, I feel like, and befriending the pain in a lot of ways, really learning to befriend pain, because Scorpio in a lot of ways is those things that hurt so bad that you don't want to talk about, you don't want to admit. But when you come to it in this loving way, as hard as that can be, and just be like, okay, this is a part of me on some level. If I just love and accept this part of myself and bring it to the light and not make it feel like it has to hide there in the dark, like an abandoned child, because we all have, that part of ourself that's like a closet that we lock it all away in. And I don't know, there's still a lot of that there with this transit over the summer, but the closet door feels like it's finally open, at least.
That's really powerful what you're saying. And I think, when you look back and you study astrology and, following the evolutionary, it's like a history book unfolding. And when you look back, even over the last 10, 15 years, we see that so much of anything about our feelings that anybody felt, it was go to the doctor and take a pill. We don't have time to feel. We got to go to work. We got to get in the rat race. We got to keep up. Nobody has time to feel anything. Neptune in Aquarius is all about detaching from feelings. So you saw a huge movement of, a pill for everything. And now, as Neptune has moved into Pisces, which rules that whole side of medications and all of those things, it's all being brought to the surface as well. Saturn Scorpio is helping to say, we need to get healthy. We need to take our health into our own hands. We need to grow our own gardens. We need to, really pay attention to what medications we're using. We need to really look at these things, because we're not, like you said, able to hide anymore. We have to live authentically, or we're just going to be beating up against, these harsh waves if we don't learn how to flow with this powerful energy. So another few thoughts about it.
I never even thought about that before. You're so right. The Neptune and Aquarius generation, like I never looked a whole lot into that, but you're right. That whole detachment from the feeling basis, go to the 9-to-5 job and just do what you need to do and don't feel anything at all costs. Whereas now, especially since Neptune went into Pisces, it's like emotion is so there, and anything, especially like the medicine side of things, because I work in that kind of environment in a hospital type place, and it's hard because I am the kind of person that, I'm all about growing organic food and working in the garden and raising bees and stuff like that. I'm just, that's my lifestyle outside of work, and I just want to go in and tell these people, oh, try this natural thing, or do this, do that, and these other nurses are around telling me you can get fired for saying that. We can't do that here, which I understand. You have to do what you have to do, but it's prominent, it's difficult, and that's definitely something that's going around right now. So,
yeah, it really is. And that's really why we've had an epidemic of even my generation. This is kind of another deeper subject, but hey, Saturn and Scorpio video, might as well bring it out there. My generation of women, especially born in the Pluto and Virgo generation of the last few years, doctors out handing pain medications out, handing, all kinds of depressants out. And you've got a whole generation of women who don't even know what hit them. Okay, that have become in the vicious cycle of addiction to keep them coming back for more, which money, profits, profits. And now you have all of these women, because I get a lot of readings and I have a lot of discussions with people, how do I function? How do I feel again? Because the last 7-8 years I've been zoned out. Where have I even been? And so these are the issues coming out. So those of you out there, if these are the issues coming out, addictions and your health and your finances and relationships, and you just feel like you're a completely different person, you're in the right place. You're absolutely in the perfect place to begin the healing process if you haven't already done that. Because Jupiter is going to move into Virgo. We're going to have the North Node in October move into Virgo. And that Virgo is all about cleaning up your health.
yes.
All about cleaning up your health. All about being able to look at your body in a practical way. And your body will become more sensitive during this transit with Jupiter and Virgo. So those of you who are dealing, with using things or, not being good to your body's not going to be able to handle it. It's going to get real sensitive to these things, all of our bodies. So it's the greatest time to get healthy this next year, to look at these things, take the time, break it down, because the energy's there to support it. So if you're feeling like you're in a vicious cycle that you can't get out of, Saturn and Scorpio is going to bring it to the surface. Okay, and so it may be happening now to you. A lot of people are dealing with this kind of stuff right now. But don't fret, because as Jupiter moves into Virgo on August 12th, you're going to get supported energy to really break these cycles once and for all this year. So a little bit of
release ourselves now. Just get ready for it.
Yeah.
Take it on. Yeah. It's interesting to note that all that Virgo is coming in pretty much right before Saturn goes back into Sagittarius.
Mm-hmm.
It'll kind of be all happening at the same time. Because everyone thinks that Virgo is just perfectionistic and judgmental, and that's not always true. It just really wants to see something be the best that it can be. And that's why it can be so hard on itself and critical, because it has its ideas. Oh wow, this could be this. Let me do that. And it takes its time. It processes it. It analyzes it, and then we'll get it to that point. So it'll be interesting to see, after getting out of the depths of these scorpionic waters, to have some more earth coming back into the astrology again. We've really been lacking that. A lot of water lately and a lot of fire, but we haven't had a lot of earth to tamper that out.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. That's awesome. And one thing to remember is that the Virgo, Saturn and Scorpio is bringing up all the psychological and emotional depth issues right now for this movement in Virgo, because the Virgos are going to clean up the mess.
Yes.
All right. The emotional plutonic explosions, the volcanoes that are happening right now, they're all going to land. And all of a sudden, this beautiful Virgonian energy is going to come through for all of us. It's going to affect us in different ways. We all have Virgo in our chart somewhere. Some of us more, some of us less. But Virgos really are fair. They really don't have a personal agenda. They just want to find, their values are about harmony and fairness. And they just want to find a way to clean up the mess. How can we fix this and not just put a Band-Aid on it? Not just put a Band-Aid on it. Let's get down. Let's research this. Let's go down to the bottom, which Saturn and Scorpio's already helping us with. Pull it all up for us so we can see. And then let's start putting this back together in a way that puts everybody on the table and kind of get out of that, you know, trophy mentality. We're moving out of that now. So we need to, for the sake of humanity, really. And astrologically, it's like a history book unfolding. It's the next practical step.
The best
So,
history book ever. If only we were learning about this in school, you know, growing up. I just, you know, more and more people are coming into astrology now. It's a lot, you know, bigger than it used to be. But, you know, I'm not saying, you know, we don't have our life struggles, but every time I'm going through whatever I'm going through, and then I start looking at the transits or whatever, and it just makes so much more sense. And I'm like, wow, this clicks this way, this clicks that way, and there's never any accident in it. It seems like.
oh yeah, it's fascinating. It's fascinating. I mean, sometimes we go through stages where we feel like, gosh, are we ever going to get a break? And we are. We've, you know, the universe has had to do some heavy duty cleanup and do it in a short amount of time. And that's, you know, that's what happens sometimes. It's got to get things back on track. And so we're headed in that direction. You know, and one last thing, or one more thing I'd like to say about the children that are born right now as we speak, that are being born over the last few months. They are going to be the healers in the next 30 years when Saturn and Scorpio comes back. They will be the healers of the remnants of the issues we're still dealing with, because there will always be remnants. You know, otherwise we wouldn't need another Saturn return. You know, it'd be done. So it evolves. It gives us 30 years to try to figure out the last lesson, and then it comes back in and goes, all right, let's see how you guys did, you know.
Round two.
You know, the children born today will be dealing with healing the land in a totally different way. So just so you guys know, those of you who have babies right now, they will be very special, and they will be, they will tend this earth, you know, especially those as we move into this Virgo energy born during that time. So all these things are important. All the topics are important. It's not, you know, it concerns me when people don't realize we're all in this together. And if we get on the same team in terms of the things we care about and the things we can do something about, we don't have to have the same beliefs. We don't even have to have the same values. We don't have to have the same priority for it. Everybody gets ignited passionately in different ways for different causes. You know, I'm somebody that's always going to be very passionate about animals. With a Virgo Pisces opposition, the theme is animals.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean I don't care about humans, or that I don't care about the trees, or I don't care about something else. It's just I was created to tend and take care of those things.
Yes, exactly.
So a lot of times we fight because why aren't you caring about what I care about? Well, because I wasn't necessarily created to do your job. I'm created to do my job. And if we both do our job, then more things get done.
Yes, thank you. I love that philosophy. We need to put that on
Right?
a poster and send it to all of them.
Yeah. Remember what I just said. Let's put that in quotes, you know, as we move into
Yes.
Virgo here. So
I'm gonna be using that one for the next week. I have a few people I think that could do good hearing that one. Perfect. And you know, it happens even to me, you know, when I'm passionate about something and someone that's really close to me isn't as passionate, like, oh, why aren't you in this? Like, whatever. But you know, it's just in our human nature. But you're right. We each come here with our very own unique set of knowledge kind of to go into. And as beautiful as your chart can very often tell you a lot about that.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know, we're all born during different Saturns and different Jupiters and different generations. So, I mean, astrologically, I can say this because I look at charts and I can say, you know, I know what I'm here to do. You know, I know what I can look at another chart and I can say, I know what generation you're born in, and what process, what things are going to play out for you. And so it gets me ignited when I see people fighting about issues when we could be inspiring each other to do our best in the issues that are dearest to our heart. And so, you know, that's all I get crazy about.
Yep, same here. You're right. You know, going into this next age of Aquarius, it's about community and coming together, and you know, we're all gonna have to get used to that one way or another. You know, some will be doing it kicking and screaming, but that's what we're moving into.
Yep, yep. And start making a garden in your backyard, you guys. Even if you have a little apartment somewhere, go down to the store and get a couple little, you know, vegetable plants or herbs or something, and just start feeling that feeling of tending to the earth. It starts with a little seed. It doesn't have to be a big thing, but it will help you ignite to that part of you that is natural and that is earthy, like the Virgo.
Exactly. Gosh. So easy. I can attest, God, if ever I'm having a bad day, just put me in the garden. Let me do some planting, some weeding, just water something. I don't know. And I just feel so much better.
I know. Well, we're going to have fun being Virgos, so we're going to have to put our seatbelts on.
Oh, Lord.
Well, thank you so much, David, from Vision Quest Astrology. I don't know if your name got through at the beginning of this, but I always love having astro discussions, and thank you for bugging me.
Oh, of
Took
course.
us a while to put this together, a few weeks, but we were determined.
Yes, we got it done. It was a much needed topic, and I'm glad we got to pay some homage one more time to this crazy and awesome transit in one. But thank you for having me on your channel. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I just love what I do. And for those of you guys out there, David and I did Scorpio Rising and my Rising Sign series. I'll put that link below if you guys haven't seen it. And check out his channel. Also, if you haven't had a chance to check out, I've just started a children and astrology series. And even if you don't have kids, this is about going back, Saturn and Scorpio, to those places that we can really look at ourselves as children. What could we do different? How can we heal now? And how can we help our children grow as we speak, you know, through a totally different perspective astrologically. So I hope you guys watch that series. I think it'll be good.
Yes, man. I'm gonna have to go watch that myself now.
Yeah, I just posted Aries Rising. So check out check out, and I'll be doing Taurus, or not Aries Rising, Aries Child.
Okay, cool. Well, I'm on it.
And then it'll be Taurus Child this week. So don't miss it, you guys. I appreciate your support.
Ready.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And you guys can check me out at cowgirlastrology.com. Don't forget to check David out at Vision Quest Astrology. And we will talk later.
Bye,
you guys.